5 minutes. So I'm Paige McCune. I am the wheelchair softball coach along with 2 other coaches at the Center for Individuals with Physical Challenges. And we are doing the softball videos for our program specifically in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But if you are visiting us from outside of there, then welcome. Okay, you guys, so we are going to bring it back to basics and talk about technique and proper form with a softball. Full disclosure, this is actually not the softball that we use for wheelchair softball. Ours is much bigger, but they have the same seam lines, so we will talk about that when I talk about placement. That being said, obviously this is easier for my size hand to grip and to get around. It'll be a little bit different depending on the size of the ball. Okay, so before that, if you have a ball with you, again, it's great if it's a softball. If not, tennis ball will work. Hey, Kelly, or whatever else you got. I would love to hear from my softball players how they have been keeping up while we have not been at actual practice. Because I know with Marley and her soccer, we were having to do things while being absent from the field for a little bit. So hopefully you've done a little something. Okay. So here are the seams of your softball. You want to make a C. Your 4 fingers right here will go, so sorry, I'm doing it so if the C is towards me. So if it's backwards for you, sorry. So I have a C. I'm putting my 4 fingers on that seam right here. And then if I can, I'm going to get my thumb on the other seam. So that's the part that'll be a little bit tricky for our softball that we use for wheelchair softball because it's a little bit bigger of a ball. But again, that will depend on your hand size, etc., and mobility. But if you can get that, that's what you want. The reason why the seam is important is because it is an extra grip for you. Hey, Sally. As well as when you are in the middle of your throw, you're actually wanting to push down on that seam, and that will create a backspin to it. So I shouldn't say you want to do that all the time, but that kind of gives it a little bit of a different toss. So it's really good for grip. So before I'm kind of jumpy with my thoughts today on where I wanted to start it. I'll start there. Okay, so I've got my fingers where I want them on the ball, all right? You want and I'm gonna say this lightly because it's different, I feel, in a wheelchair. If you're standing, you want to, Kelly Decker, yes, there is a correct way. Now listen, I say that one size does not fit all, right? This is what is recommended. If it doesn't affect you, then you got superpowers, and that's awesome. But it is recommended, so you've got a better form thrown out. So I'll have say you're my target, okay? I'll have my hips out. A lot of weight shifting. Again, that's a little bit different when you're in a chair, and we'll talk about that in a second. But say we just received the catch. We're gonna bring it behind us. I don't know if you noticed, but my palm is actually facing the other way, okay? So this is what it should look like. So you've got a nice L, it's parallel to the floor. If your shoulder's a little looser than mine, it'll look a little straighter, but that's what you got. okay? And then as you come forward is when you twist and you'll release. Now on that release, you're going to want to really snap your wrist. So you're snapping your wrist at the same time you're pushing your fingers through that thread. Does that make sense? So we're gonna go around. I'm parallel here right now. Okay, through. Now, when you're actually throwing the ball, you're not just gonna stop when you release it, okay? You'll lose your power. So you really want to go all the way through. All right, so I would be letting go right here, but you still want to keep going so that force doesn't stop and it doesn't just drop in front of you. Does that make sense? Okay, so hold on to the ball just for practice. Do that a few times, okay? I'm actually going to get in the wheelchair since it is wheelchair softball because this adds a little bit different dynamic. So without the chair, I'm not really hitting anything, right? It would be just my body. But now I've got the chair, and so I need to be aware that I'm not gonna hit this tire, or maybe I have a higher injury and so my backrest might be up a little bit. So that's why it's important to practice all this on your own time so you know what benefits you the most. Not that you can't practice during practice, that's what it's for, right? To discover that kind of stuff. But that way you can figure out what works best for you. All right. It's okay. So I'm going to put my foot down on the ground so I'm just not moving everywhere. But if you'll see, I might have to lean over a little bit. Because otherwise, I'm hitting all this, right? So I will come out here. There's my elbow. Just like that. Okay.
So in summary, you're pretty much making like a big circle and kind of twisting?
Yes. I don't know if you heard Marley, but she said in summary, I'm basically making a big circle, and that is correct. So for some people, if you do have to lean over to make that circular motion, I'm actually hanging on over here. So if you have a little bit of difficulty in your core or balance, that we're not gonna fall off this way. Okay, so I'm gonna hang on over here, lean over, and then go, okay? So behind me, I've got a target. So I'm gonna face this direction. Again, it's a lot of weight shifting if you're able. If not, then you might open your hips up a little bit more towards where you're going. So we're not totally just twisting our back out. So if this doesn't work, I would go ahead and open up a little bit at this angle. All right. So I'm gonna lean over. Here's my circle. You see how that's facing you? And I put it right in there, okay? Thank you. All right, so we'll do that one more time. So, I know it's not that far because I'm just in my garage, but pick a target, even if it's in the yard on the ground, of where you want that ball to land, up against a fence. If you got a brick side of your house or an apartment, that would be great as well. The other thing I want to encourage you to do is to use your weaker side. So I'm right hand dominant, so my weaker side would be my left. I want to be practicing the same drills on both sides. And we've talked about this before for two different reasons. To continue to be, a threat on the field, but also then you can get yourself out of any situation and you're not losing seconds, trying to get it into the proper hand. Does that make sense? So with wheelchair softball, not all of us wear gloves. So there's really only 3 players that wear gloves, and that's the catcher, the pitcher, and the first baseman. Other than that, hi Tempest, you guys have both hands free, which makes you, again, more of a threat. So anything we're doing on the right side, I want you to do on the left side. And yes, it is awkward, so this will take lots of practice until it becomes a habit, and then you don't have to think about it anymore. So once you've learned that technique, you can kind of take it a step back as well, and this is what I was debating on starting with, and I probably should have, is when you catch the ball, we don't have all the time in the world to get our fingers right on those seams, right? So yes, in the middle of a game and someone's dashing to first, am I going to sit there and make sure my fingers are in the most perfect spot? Probably not. So you want to be ready for anything, but if you can get into the habit of feeling for that and taking half a second to adjust, we want to do that. So go ahead and just toss it to yourself, and I feel the seam on my middle finger and my pointer finger, so I know I'm almost there. Okay, so then I'm just going to adjust real quick and go. All right, so we'll toss it, adjust, go. Go. So just keep doing that over and over. Corinna, girl, how are you? Okay, then remember when I said everything on the right, also do on the left, okay? So we're gonna toss it. I'm gonna pretend now that my right hand is my glove hand, okay? And then get my left hand into position, and go. All right, so we'll toss and go. Okay, so you want to do that, 20, 30, 50 times, over and over. It's the only way you're gonna get better, so it's repetition, and you gain more confidence with that, okay? So you can do that standing, sitting, but those are the 2 main things that I really wanted to go over with you. Was how you're gonna hold that ball, all right, and then the form of our throw. I don't know if I'm still getting in that habit. So backwards, and then snap. And then you can also work on the snapping of your wrist as well, okay? And you can just get next to a wall and just kind of toss it back and forth like that. Or you can just do it to yourselves. DJ Chaz said he made a remix. That's awesome. We love that, Chaz. Okay, last thing. Wheelchair softball is an underhand slow pitch. So our pitcher actually pitches underhanded. Typically, they will be the only ones doing that. But that being said, within our team, we've got a couple of players with shoulder issues, and now probably myself included. So the overhead throw might not be what's best for me due to an injury, or it's just not where my strength is. So then you've got to find a new technique, right? Don't just give up on it. So you can also still do the underhand, okay? You still want to find your fingers on that seam. But on this one, you will have to lean over a little bit, okay? And the reason why is there's camber on our sports chair, okay? So when you're in a typical chair, our tires are up and down. When you're in a sports chair, we lean out a little bit, and that protects us from falling. Not all the time, but a good amount. But our pitcher has had to adjust to this, right? Because it's not straight back. We're hitting this. So you want to think about that Whether you're just doing a soft toss to the base, or maybe you've really got to get it there, we want to make sure that we're not hitting our rim and our tire all the way through, okay? So we'll start, go ahead and you can get your swing just to warm your shoulder up, but remember, we got to stay out and go. And this is kind of nice watching myself in this camera do this. You can do the same thing. Get in front of a mirror, or if you don't have a mirror on your phone, just turn the screen around, the video camera, and you can watch yourself that way as well. So this would be another good idea. Follow through is huge too. So I talked about a little bit when we release to keep following through, but just like a basketball, it also makes a big difference of what fingers are on that ball last and which way we're rotating. So try and, just like that target behind me, we want to try and hit that spot every time, because that's right in my teammate's lap, right? So try different positions and see what works for you. But again, we want to be consistent on where that ball lands, okay? So go out, out. And, also know that the underhand pitch, you're going to have more of an arch. So this will probably more be used in the infield than anything. Just like that. Okay? I know that was short and sweet today, but sometimes it's nice to just bring it back down to the basics. Sometimes when we get in a game, we're not thinking about all those things. It's all those little technicalities that get us. Corinna, when are we all going to get together to play? Girl, I hear ya. We're working on it. Please know that. Your coaches have come up with practice plans for when we are allowed to go back to the center. If you will get on wheelchairsoftball.org, they still have their tournament and game schedule up for those who are continuing to do those. So I know Topeka, Kansas, it's now Kansas City, it's a new field, we'll be throwing, I believe it's a one-day tournament July 11th this summer. And so we are seeing what your options are, whether you go up on your own in support or can hop on an extra team, etc. So we will keep you posted on your options for sure. And Chaz, I actually don't know an update on Waterfest, so I will get that for you because it is one of my favorite parts of summer. So if they're having it, I will be there for
Me
sure.
too.
And Marley. So Chaz, I'll keep you posted on that. Okay. I think that's it. Enjoy some softball. Thanks for hanging out today, you guys. Keep up the good work. It will all pay off, I promise. So proud of everyone for hanging in there. Stay safe. Stay centered. Bye.